this video, we're going to talk about factoring quadratics when a is greater than 1. Okay, so I have other videos that talk about factoring quadratics, like say if you have x squared minus 4x minus 21. Okay, those are the types of problems that we always talked about, multiplying to the back and adding to the middle. That technique doesn't work as easily whenever there is a number out front. That specific spot is what we call A. So when the front number is bigger than 1, this technique gets a little bit thrown out the window. Okay, so we're going to look at factoring these quadratics when A is greater than 1. The first thing you would always look for is you'd look for a GCF, which again, I have another video for that. So there is no GCF as well. You're just kind of stuck with where you're at, 3x squared minus 1x minus 4. So the technique I'm going to teach in this video is slide and divide. I've been a teacher for a while. I've tried different techniques for this style of problems. I find I've had the highest success from students when teaching slide and divide. It really is kind of a 3-step process. We're going to slide, we're going to factor, and then we're going to divide. We're going to slide, we're going to factor, then we're going to divide. So let's get to it. So the thing that makes this problem different from previous ones that we're more comfortable with is that front number. That front number 3 really changes the ball game here. That front number is kind of the action piece for this whole problem. So we're going to start with step 1, we're going to slide. So what I mean by that is take that front number of 3, we're going to take it, and this is the slide portion, and multiply it to the back. So take that front number 3, we're going to multiply it to the back. So 3 times negative 4, which will give you negative 12. So that 3 is kind of taken to the back so we can strip it off. So 3 is now gone, multiplied to the back. That is the slide part of slide, factor, and divide. Step 2, we're going to factor this. X squared minus 1x minus 12. This is very similar to the quadratics that we're a little bit more comfortable with factoring. We can now use that technique of trying to find 2 numbers that multiply to negative 12. Those same 2 numbers need to be able to add up to negative 1. So we're looking for 2 numbers that multiply to negative 12, but they need to add to negative 1. Now, some of us have a number sense that you can come up with it. You can figure out what has negatives, what doesn't, all those things. If your number sense is a little bit lacking, I do find it easy to make just a quick list and think of 2 numbers that multiply to 12. So I'm making a list. I know 1 times 12 gets me 12. I know 2 times 6 gets me 12. And I know 3 times 4 gets me 12. And then I start thinking about which of these combinations could I add a negative to none of them, to one of them, or to both of them? Is there a combination that I can multiply to negative 12 and add to negative 1? And I've talked a lot about developing that number sense in other videos. The combination we're going to use on this one that works is a negative 4 and a positive 3, okay? So negative 4 times 3 is negative 12, and negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. So it is going to work out here. We have our 2 numbers that multiply to the back and add to the middle, okay? So that is step 2 of this process of slide, factor, divide. That's the factor aspect. The final piece is the divide aspect that brings this all together. So that ever important number in the front that we slide with, it's going to be involved in the divide step, okay? So we're going to take that 3 and we're going to divide our back number there, divide the back number there. So there's the slide, there's the factor, and then we bring that 3 back and we do a divide, okay? Now what's super important in this 3rd step is in the division, make sure you divide, and if it doesn't divide nice and clean, we're going to get a most reduced fraction as possible. So I'm going to lean on the calculator a little bit here to help you out. So I'm going to start by looking at that negative 4 divided by 3. So I'll put a calculator in front of me, type in negative 4 divided by 3, which I can get negative 1.333333, okay? That's not clean for me, okay? I don't want decimals here, so what I'm going to do is, remember, calculators are very, very good at reducing fractions for us. I'm going to do a math enter, enter, it's going to take my previous decimal and change it to a most reduced fraction. And it might be hard to see on the camera there, but that is -4/3. So that is going to stay a -4/3 for now. Go to the back, I have a 3 divided by 3, so I'm going to try that out. 3 divided by 3, which just gets you 1. Okay, so x, keep the sign there, plus 1. So that looks a little bit more like a factor we're used to. With these, we don't really want these fractions as our factors here, okay? So what's going to happen is sometimes if you're left with a fraction, there's more cleaning up to do. This right one no longer is a fraction, so we're happy here. If you still have a fraction in your piece here, take that 3, send it right back to the front, okay? So this would change back to a 3x, so see I moved that 3 back up, and the -4 is still in the back. This was not a fraction, so we're happy with it, so it stays in x plus 1. This right here is the factored form of our original quadratic. This right here is the factored form of original quadratic. I don't need to show it in this video, but you could take this, you can multiply it out to check, okay? So to check, you could sit there and multiply it all out. Multiply it out. If you do so, you multiply this out, combine like terms, guess what? You're going to get 3x squared minus 1x minus 4. It is going to check out. It is going to work. So that's the slide, factor, and divide. So I'm going to do one more example in this video just to really drive our point home and see this in action. Slide, factor, and divide. I'll go a tad bit faster on this one. So slide, factor, and divide. So the action is all in that front number, okay? It's all in that front number. So start by the slide. Take the 4 times the -5. 4 times -5, so I'm sending that 4 on back, gives me -20. So notice the 4 has gone away from the front, multiply the back, -20. After we slide, we're going to factor. Looking for two numbers that multiply to -20. Those same two numbers need to add to -8. Multiply to -20, add to -8, okay? And again, if you struggle with coming up with those numbers, I would sit there and be like, well, I could do 20 divided by 1. 20 divided by 1 gets me 20. 20 divided by 2 gets me 10. 20 divided by 3, ain't happening. 20 divided by 4 gets me 5. I could do 20 divided by 5, but that also gets me 4. So these are all pairs that multiply to 20. I just have to find the pair that is going to multiply to -20, but add to -8. Multiply to -20, but add to -8. The pairing that's going to work best here is -10 and 2. -10 times 2, that is -20. -10 plus 2, that is -8. So it multiplies to the back, but we add to the middle. Multiplies to the back, adds to the middle, okay? So there was the slide, there's the factor. Now we're ready for the divide. So that 4, it comes on back. That 4 comes on back. Divide the two numbers we found by our front piece there. So I need to divide both of these by 4. With this particular problem, you're going to see it's extremely, extremely important that we try this division and reduce any fractions. So back to that calculator, I'm going to type in -10 divided by 4. I get a decimal there, and I'm not really happy with decimals. So with my graphing calculator, if we hit math, enter, enter, I get -5/2 as a reduced fraction there. So -5/2. I'm going to try the same thing with my back division there. 2 divided by 4. 2 divided by 4. I get a decimal. And if you're not sure what that fraction is, math, enter, enter, will give you the most reduced fraction there. 0.5 is the exact same thing as 1/2. So x plus 1/2. Now we do not want, in my factors, we don't want these fractions here, so we're going to clean it up a little bit. So we're going to take this denominator, the bottom, slide it on back to the front. So instead of having x minus 5/2, we can slide that 2 back up. That's 2x minus 5. You see how that 2 just slid right back up? 2x minus 5. That is my factor. In the back, again, don't like a fraction of 1 over 2. Let's take that 2 and slide it back up. Slide that 2 back up. We get a 2x and then a plus 1. And that is the correct factorization of 4x squared minus 8x minus 5. Again, it's kind of a quick 3-step process. Slide, factor, and divide. Again, it's a technique that I think has given students the most success on this. So give it a try, slide, factor, and divide.